Well, ladies and gentlemen, the market just doesn't care. It is not stopping. We've just had some news that Microsoft holds an investment in OpenAI Group, PBC, valued at $135 billion. And you can appreciate that the Nasdaq right now, just to quickly show you, has just said, yeah, baby, let's just go. Let's just go. It doesn't matter. They're going to look at investments of 135 billion. That's great news for Microsoft shareholders. Buy Microsoft going into the market open itself. You can see where are we? Microsoft, where are you? There you go. You can't even see its price. Why? Because it's gapping up to nearly $552. What did we say about that vector candle recovery, ladies and gentlemen? There it is right there. I know you heard me say it. Now, this is not just to be like, I told you so. No, it's because it's sentiment. This market is all about sentiment. It's not about technical analysis. It's about who's buying. What reasons do I have to buy? It's just not stopping, ladies and gents. And the question is, what about Bitcoin? I mean, is Bitcoin the true asset is what we're focusing on today. But we've had a flurry of new developments in regards to cryptocurrency. Word on PayPal getting involved in stable coins and what have you. Got some news on Circle. Telling you, man, those partnerships are just going to keep rolling out. You can't come into the space as one of the competitors against Coinbase in the stock market and not try and make your claim. So we're going to break it all down for you today, guys. Try and keep this one short and sweet. But I will say that tonight's video, I strongly recommend that you do take time to check it out. Why? Because the next big thing, in my opinion, next to robotics is data centers. And I'm going to be diving into what's going on with data centers and what the real commodity is going into the future. And that is, how on earth do you keep these data centers powered up for all the information that is being stored on them? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking nuclear. We're talking uranium. I'm going to be giving you a list of stocks in tonight's video just to break down exactly what you need to be mindful of. Because one of these stocks, good old Warren Buffett, holds a nice stake in them. And anyway, we'll get to that later on. So let's break down exactly what's going on in the marketplace, give you guys a little bit of info on what we can expect today, because we are heading into the eve of the FOMC. It's a big day tomorrow, but the market's pricing it all in now, which means that is FOMC going to come out with some hawkish statements? Like, remember, we're not getting any inflation data yet. We've got no labor market data. US government shutdown is still happening. So what are they basing their decisions on? Let's break it all down, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. So stocks rallying. Of course, tomorrow is a big day for stocks. You know that we've got Visa coming out with its earnings today at the close. United Health Corp is actually coming out with their earnings at the open. But tomorrow you've got Microsoft, Google, and Meta declaring their earnings. And with the way Microsoft is working right now, currently just tapped its all-time high nearly in the pre-markets. It's pretty much telling you what the sentiment is right now. And this is a big investment when we're talking about Microsoft and OpenAI getting into bed with each other. But I want to draw your attention to something that's brewing. So we know that Trump and China is having a good old conversation, but you've heard me talk about this story with Japan and Trump, and he talks about Forex manipulation. Well, as we go down into it, you can see here that there was a discussion with Secretary Scott Bessent talking with one of the Japanese finance ministers on exchange rate volatility. What is that? Quite simply, Forex intervention. What I think is going to happen is Japan are going to be put to the side and they're going to be explained by Bessent and, of course, Trump maybe. And they're going to say, listen, stop holding the dollar to blackmailing us, basically. Because every time the dollar goes up aggressively, all right, it does hurt the trade story with Japan and, of course, the US. But you've got tariffs now. Now, given that Japan are seeing development in their wages and, of course, their inflation, it's granting the reason for a rate hike. They are going to increase their interest rates because if they don't have this means of activity to cut, or should I say, buy dollars when dollar is going up too much, The only way that they can really control the dollar is by increasing the interest rates, because it's going to force investors who are using and borrowing yen, converting it into dollars and planting it into the stock market. It's going to force those guys to get out, because Japan wants to increase their rates by 25 basis points, which will take it to 0.75%. Doesn't sound like much, but it's going to hurt the guys that borrowed yen at the lower rates, and they're going to equally have to pull that liquidity. So mark my words, their next meeting, which is Thursday, they're not going to increase their interest rates. They're going to be on hold, and that's what everyone is expecting. However, there's going to come a time where we go towards the end of the year that they are more than likely going to tell us that they're going to increase their rates. Wage inflation is going up, inflation is going up, and that's a problem. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you're going to the market and you're looking at what stocks to buy, because there could be a carry trade unwind. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, we got some good news. US signs rare earth deals with Japan. So it's all happening. If you want to check out the stock that you might want to pay attention to with that, it would be USAR. This is a company, USA Rare Earth. And of course, we're going into the pre-markets. It is down minus 1.16%, 1.16%. But this company is going to see the benefit from that. So it's in an accumulation phase. You got earnings per share coming out in 9 days' time. They are building their positions with this bad boy, which leads me over into some more flavor for you. Check this out. This is interesting. Where is my little article for it? Haven't I seen it? Oh, my God. Where is it? Oh, my days. Here we go. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Circle. Issuer of USDC starts testing ARC blockchain with big institutions on board. Don't need to read anything else. Well, I'll read a little bit. It says the public testnet of ARC has drawn interest from global finance and tech players, including BlackRock, HSBC, and Amazon Web Services and Anthropic. Quite simply, ladies and gentlemen, again, it aims to deploy a public testnet for ARC blockchain involving over 100 institutions, and it aims to bring real-world financial activities on-chain, offering features like US dollar-based fees and sub-second settlement. Who cares? The fact is that this company is doing business. Going over into the share price of Circle right now, just to put it into perspective. Where we go, where we at? In pre-markets, they are down by 0.31%, but it's trading positively away from this range. This is a good accumulation range, in my opinion, with all the partnerships. You've got to remember, it's all the money that's going to be coming into the company at a later point. Going into the actual fund ownership, to put it into perspective. Whoa, what did I just do just there? Hold on. Yeah, looking at the fund ownership, we've gone up to 268. I said to you guys, I will start playing this stock once we start succeeding above 100. They went to 25, then they went to 80, then went to 100. Now they're at 268. Fund owners are playing 14% of the stock, so that's good news. We want to see that increase. We see that increasing. We see share price increasing, ladies and gentlemen. But the big question is, what on earth happened to Bitcoin yesterday? Bitcoin yesterday didn't really do too well. It started to pull back. Of course, everyone was like, oh my God, what's going on? Is Bitcoin decoupling from the marketplace? You know, Nasdaq yesterday was just going off on a mad one yesterday. And everyone was trying to short the Nasdaq yesterday. We weren't shorting Nasdaq. We were going long in the Discord yesterday. And because it's trade sentiment, what's made this candle go up? Is it because it's a Fibonacci extension point? Nope. Is it because it's hit a certain formation? Nope. Is it to do with anything? No. Why? Because you're trading the abyss. There's nothing. It's price discovery. But also it helps that Microsoft has said, yeah, let's get into bed with OpenAI and invest $135 billion. Again, fueling the move to the upside. Everyone is trying to just trade this logic right now in the markets where you're trading technically, but trend is your friend. Okay, but people take that for granted. But at the same time, when you're trying to exploit the idea of, oh, price is overly extended to the upside, it doesn't exist when you're trading sentiment. I've been saying it for quite some time. All you need to hear is someone say something about trade, Trump and China, happy days. Someone to get into business with someone. I said this yesterday. Look out for any new partnerships. Bang, Microsoft, OpenAI, come out with a partnership. Sends Nasdaq up. It's starting to get a little bit crazy where certain theoretical concepts are no longer coming into play. Stock bond ratio is clearly overvalued, which means that stocks are way overvalued in comparison to the bonds. But remember, the tech market is being fueled by just business deals. That's the problem we've got. And when you look at the chart, people are buying at these levels. You want proof of that? Check this out. So in the Discord yesterday, I was talking about a couple of trades, right? In front of you is the depth of market on the Atos platform. And I was in some longs on the S&P yesterday, all right? At the point where I was explaining to the guys, because a few of the guys were trying to play some shorts, okay? And I was like, look, be careful because we're going up and you can see that there is bid side interest. Look at this, 701 bids. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ticks away from its all-time high. Someone plants a bid at 701. What's that telling you? There is support inside of this range. Massive, massive support at the all-time highs. Okay? Don't short when there's interest coming into the market. You don't short strength. You short weakness. The way you identify weakness is when you don't see commitment coming into play. When price structurally then starts to break down. Go to smaller time frames and say to yourself, well, what we got here? So the market has pumped up pre-market, all right? It's pumped up. We've got this big green vector candle imbalance. And if you watch last night's video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But we've swept the Asian session high. On a normal day, you'd sweep that range and you'd expect prices to come back down again. But it's just been fueled by a big move. Is this buy the rumor, sell the news event? Not for me, guys, because tomorrow is a big day. So they're going to try and price it all in. Maybe we get some bad news tomorrow. But what if we get good news? Yeah, we're still in line for the rate cuts. Happy days. So what about our Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it's looking good. PayPal stock surges on OpenAI partnership. I mean, OpenAI is killing it. There's partnerships galore. There's more flipping partnerships and business deals and relationships forming on here in comparison to Tinder. I mean, that is just wild. Things are happening, man. And that's great news. You know, it's just everything is being fueled on partnerships because investors are translating it that in the future, people are going to earn from holding that stock. So they price it in now. Okay. Going into other news, you heard about MetaPlanet. It's announcing a stock buyback, and some investors are like, hold on a second. You guys are buying up Bitcoin, but why are you buying up your shares? Surely, are you putting that money to waste? I think it's an ingenious idea. Whenever a company buys back its own shares, it naturally grabs interest from other people, investors like, why are you buying it back? What's going on? Now, other guys of the Bitcoin maxes are like, hold on a second, you should be buying Bitcoin. Don't waste that money, but think about it. What reasons do you have now to buy into this company? Well, there's one major one. They've just bought $150 million worth of their own, 150 million shares of their own company. So what are they doing? They're trying to reduce the number of shares available. That's naturally going to create scarcity. That's going to bring more investors to get involved in this company. Then what happens? After you grab all that interest of people, because they now know that you hold 150 million of your own shares, what can you turn around and say? Hey, we just want to ask, is anybody interested in us buying Bitcoin? Yeah. Okay, we're going to use some of that capital. I think it's great. I think it's an ingenious way of generating liquidity because when you go into it, at the end of it, it says, it's a delicate dance. Some hardcore Bitcoiners will always push for maximal stack till you drop, especially when the board has the ammo for both buybacks and Bitcoin buys. They are generating interest with this because what's MicroStrategy done? It's offered convertible bonds. It's pushing shares out and telling people, here you go, buy this share and we'll use that money and we will go and invest. What these guys are doing we're buying our own shares back. You're going to find interest in that because you're a Bitcoin holder and you like the idea that we hold Bitcoin. What we're going to do now is take that money and effectively, it's a gamble. Because they might not get the same interest because their shares have slumped. But of course they're going to slump. They're buying them. They ain't going to be buying them when they're rising. Okay? I believe that this is a ploy to effectively come out in the future and then say, okay, the interest that has been generated from this buyback has now given them enough capital where they can turn around and be like, we're now going to buy some Bitcoin. All right? Happy days. I think that's a brilliant way of doing it. You know? So... It says here, after all, why not pump every spare yen into accumulating more Bitcoin rather than buying back the stock? Okay. Detractors might frame any buybacks as a fiat gameplay, maybe at the expense of Bitcoin stack growth, calling for more aggressive accumulation and less financial engineering, as one Bitcoin commented, which is what he says here. But it's for the favor of the future. They know Bitcoin is going to go up. They know that it's not going to go to crazy prices just yet. They're in accumulation. They're playing a game. And that's my opinion on that, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of which, let's go and have a look at where we are with the ETF, just to understand the logic before we get into a little bit of price action. Let's have a look. Oh, no. The outflows, what are they? It's nothing to be too concerned about. Inflows, what we got? Again. Yeah, they're at it again. Someone's buying up. Not so much buying up, but, you know, it's the $13 gas supply and what have you, services, whatever. But outflows, not really too concerned. It's looking okay for the BlackRock ETF. Going into the actual holdings itself, where are we at with it all? Here we go. 805,806. And everyone was like asking yesterday, hold on, Bitcoin's down, Nasdaq is up. And this goes to the question, is Bitcoin the true asset? Because we go into the chart itself. Oh, Nasdaq, what are you doing? You've done your trap. We go into the asset and we look at Bitcoin and we say to ourselves, all right, then yesterday you saw a big move up, well, in the weekend, and now you've marked prices back down, and now you're bringing price back up again. The idea is that if Bitcoin is truly going to be the true asset, when the stock market rises, but Bitcoin doesn't, you've got to give the consideration and say, hold on a sec. Are they bidding Bitcoin? That means, are they buying it before they decide to send it up later on? Because you've got to remember, Bitcoin is a very small market cap asset, which is prone to wild volatility. Nasdaq itself is $25 trillion. That's a big market cap. And it's made up of really, the majority of that, or 10% of it, is made up from the of just one stock. Okay, so you've got Nvidia makes up a third of it, nearly, not a third, but you get the idea. But the fact is that if Bitcoin's going down when you've seen the stock market going up, all right, it can suggest that maybe participants are not yet favoring the idea of risk just yet. Bitcoin's just been given a lifeline with this news announcement. So that's good news. And you can see the stock market's gone up on the back of that. Going into the order flow of Bitcoin, you can see we're stuck inside of this range. We've got some offers coming into play. 298 Bitcoin has moved into a wallet or Binance wallet. And people read that and get scared. Why? $34 million moved to Binance. That is tuppence when you think about it. When you've had all these orders down here, 17 million transacted at 114,000. Then you've had another 23 million at 114,488. So that eliminates that. Maybe it's that participant getting ready to sell it whilst price is going up. You got some offers up here. You got 3.54, and then you got another 5.2 million up there. Go to 2.3, and then 6.19 at 151,981. Keep going up. You got 2 million, 2.6, sorry, and then 1.7, 1.4. So you've got little orders, but this is the problem we've got with Bitcoin. It gets used and abused by Wall Street. It marks up, it comes down. It marks up, it comes down. And that's what investors don't like. They like to go to places which they know they are comfortable with, which is, of course, the stock market and Nasdaq. Now, Nasdaq is trading at significant highs, and the question does grant, at what point, right, is the market really just going to keep on going up, even into FOMC? Because I believe that with FOMC, we might get a statement that makes investors believe that we might not get that many rate cuts, because all they're pricing in now is rate cuts going into tomorrow's meeting and then, of course, December's meeting. After December's meeting, that's when things get a little bit tricky, because we saw yesterday in the live stream that investors are somewhat mixed with their bets. They're 50% on 3.25, 3.5%, and then 3.75, 4%. They're mixed on that, okay? There's no clear definitive path, but we won't know that until the US government opens, and then, of course, we get the labor data, which is going to tell us if the economy is struggling or not. They're giving us the rate cuts blind, and they're basing it off one previous reading of non-farm payrolls and this inflation reading, which was higher but lower than the actual estimates. It's quite an interesting game, to be frank with you, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to be very, very cautious with it. Just going over into the order flow for NASDAQ and looking at volume, we're seeing that the start of the week is doing relatively well. Going into the daily, we're seeing volume above average. There's an exhaustion gap right there. It's going up 2 gaps. This is consistent with climatic behavior, okay? But it's sentiment driven. You've just been told Microsoft are going to spend loads of money and it's going to be generating a return for investors. Buy Microsoft. Honestly, it's just literally just, there's nothing stopping this. At all-time highs, you need to see volume coming in high, okay? And price action to justify it with it closing at the highest level possible, okay? Just be mindful. I say don't short it, but you can short it if you want. If you're going to try and take a few ticks profit, cool. I don't know what your priorities are when it comes to making a trade and what your targets are. But just keep in mind that from now going into FOMC, the market's moving up. It's going to be pricing in all the excitement of everything. All we need now is Trump to turn around and say, this is the deal with China. Everything is all good. All right. Stock market's just going to go. And every single theory behind the stock market in terms of valuations and what have you is out the flipping window. Is this a blow off top? Maybe, which is why I'm saying to you, maybe Bitcoin hasn't taken its all-time high just yet because investors don't believe that now's the right time to invest in it. But the stock market is just going. Remember, Nasdaq is a composite. It's an index made up of hundreds and hundreds of stocks listed on the US stock market. This right here is a representation of all those guys getting involved and buying it all up, okay? They haven't retraced at all. If FOMC gives us any inkling of any hawkish sentiment and that they're not going to be cutting and they're relying on data, okay, Nasdaq will probably take the trip to oblivion, at least to try and recover this gap. And even then at that range, stocks are still deemed as overvalued. They were overvalued over here at 25,374. They were overvalued at this high right here at 24,600. They were overvalued over here at 24,067. They were overvalued over here at 23,000. Clearly, it doesn't matter if they're overvalued if the participants will buy it. Remember, Bitcoin will claim a big market cap in the future because the Nasdaq is proof that if someone wants something, they will buy it if they are given a reason to. Give reason to Bitcoin, Bitcoin will soar. All right? You can give me your price projections of 800,000 Bitcoin or whatever price action you want it to be, okay? People desire it, they will take it. And that's the thing about Bitcoin. And there is a lot building right now around Bitcoin. They're positioning it. Because if your Bitcoin is really going to soar and all this trillions of dollars worth of liquidity is going to come into the marketplace, well, firstly, you need 7.5 of it to come out of the money markets. And the only way that's going to happen is if the market does see that we get the rate cuts. We're getting 2. But if there's any change in the plan of that going into tomorrow and they say, well, we'll give you the 1, but December we need to sit back because we don't have any data on the labor market and, of course, inflation, because we're not getting inflation reading going into next month. That's what they had said, unless the US government opens. So if we're not getting it next month, that means the US government's going to stay shut till then. At what point are they going to get back open again? Because the loss of compensation is not really hurting the US economy. It's not, all right? Just 2 weeks cost them 5.6 billion, all right? And that's 0.1 to 0.2% of the GDP, all right? The GDP projection came in nearly 5 points more than what they had anticipated. So they can afford to stay closed for a whole month and longer. It's not going to do anything to the US economy. All right? It's a very interesting times, ladies and gentlemen, honestly. Bitcoin is just lagging because it's just a lag. You know? What about bullish? Let's actually have a look at bullish. Bullish is not really doing too much, to be honest with you. It's not really doing too much. Quickly looking on the daily, it's coming away from these lows. The earnings per share is coming out soon. It's probably going to consolidate until that earnings per share is released. And they had a good earnings per share last time, but we need to really see what their services are all about. All right. This one might move slower in comparison to Circle. All right. But there's a lot of things happening, ladies and gentlemen. And I strongly recommend that you guys get involved. Okay. Get involved in anything related to Japanese ETFs, JP Morgan ETFs that are involving Japanese stocks. Okay. There are big things happening in Japan, and Japan and the US relationship is only naturally going to be encouraging foreign investors. The idea of rate hikes means that they can generate more of a yield return. It's still cheap to borrow money over there. You've got to understand there's a lot of things happening with the Japanese stock market as well. Some people and critics have said that the Japanese stock market hitting the 50K, the Nikkei 225 hitting that much, it's like unbelievable and what have you. But for me, there's a reason why Buffett is sat in $360 billion worth of cash positions and he's investing heavily in Japan. There's a reason for it, guys. So just go out and just do some research on Japanese ETFs, Japanese stocks that are effectively listed in the US stock market. just pay close attention to that because those are big things that are happening. All right. They are going to be expanding really well. I do think that money markets are going to still claim the money over there because we really need to see that coming into the stock market because it's deemed as low risk money markets, high risk stock market. And that's when you're going to get your Bitcoin making significant moves. They've advertised Bitcoin many a times. Here we go. Nasdaq, look at it. It's just going. It's going. It's not stopping. Look at it. Look at this madness. It's just not stopping. My God, look at it. You want to see it? Look at the order flow. Look at this. Look at the order flow. How on earth? I mean, look at that. It is just going and going. It's not stopping, man. The mood data is out. 456 million buy side, 167 sell side. That is a storming market open. Top 5 buys are Apple again. Okay, Nvidia, some sell orders have come into Nvidia. Okay, but it's not really great. But look at that. Just look at where Nasdaq's going. Wonderful, isn't it? I'm just looking for the snap reversal very soon because there was a reading over here, right? Bloomberg had said, where was it? Here we go. With the Fed on track to cut rates, extending the run would appear to hinge on this week's lineup of high-profile earnings releases, said Chris from E-Trade from Morgan Stanley. So why is he saying that? I mean, this clearly doesn't stop them. It really doesn't. Where is it? Here we go. Where is that? There you are. It's just not stopping. You are trading right now at value area highs. This is where price can effectively snap down. Okay. And it's just absolutely wild when you witness it. I mean, look, let me show you, like, just to open a position right now on the Nasdaq, just to put into perspective. I'm not going to go at 10 lot sizes. I'm just going to go at 2 lot sizes because this is just for demonstration purposes right now. But look at what we're doing. We're seeing price making a significant move up. The market's just open. I don't trade these times, but let me just show you what it's like to be in risk whilst this is happening. Okay, so we'll try and run a short from there. I'm not losing much here, but look, I'm reading the order flow right now. We're at value area high, and you can see that we're going. The momentum tells, see these red lines here and the green lines? Those are momentum tells. That's telling me the aggressive nature of price on the bid and the offer, okay? So we've just had great news about OpenAI. Do they want to buy it at these levels? Well, it looks like they are, but they also could be selling as well. Looking down here, you can see that 48 down there on the contracts tells me there's a bid down there that wants to get filled. So the market will go and travel to that point. It's come back again. You see that? There you go, 49, bang, it's gone back into it. So when you start seeing that commitment, lower bands of the bid side, that tells you that there are guys that are favoring lower prices. That's going to lead it to come down and keep shooting down. So running a short, but not too much money here. We're not trying to make money. I'm trying to get you to understand the order flow, and that trading during these times are very difficult. Okay. The thing is with Nasdaq, it can go down, it can go up, especially at the open because it's the market order open. This is where every order comes in. And look, that just shot back up again. Claim the high, 26,094 to only come back down again. I want to see those bid side again, that 20, see that? I want to see 48 and 50s. If I see that, then it tells me it's going to go lower again. So I just got to wait and see how it plays. I'm just going to do this for the next few minutes just so you guys can get into my mind about understanding what I'm looking for and what I'm reading. All right, I'm not seeing the bid side just yet. Well, no. 26 down there. Okay, so that really needs to stay in the book for it to try and go back into that. 30 down there again. See that 30, 36? There you go. So they're rolling 34, 32. So that's telling me that someone's like, yeah, I want to buy here. Send it to me. Send it to me. I'll buy 42 down there, 44. So I'm paying attention to this. There you go, 42 again at the lows of the profile. It comes back up again because that means that they're equally selling. You see that again at the top of 32. Do you understand why? It's very hard to trade at the start of the market open because you're having to process this information at speed. All right, you see that 47? There's markets probing. That could be a spoof, but it showed commitment to come into that range, okay? So you want to wait for that and say, okay, I can absorb the risk of that. This keeps coming down. There you go, 47, you're going to eat it? Pac-Man, no, doesn't want it. Oh, maybe 56 now. So commitment's coming in. So they want it to go lower. Eat that liquidity. Come on. Eat that 53. Okay, cool. So it's gone down again, making that flow. 175. That's a big one. 175 further down. So the market is effectively seeing that commitment's down at the lows. He wants to see 176. Eat that. 178. 177. Come on. Eat it. Okay, cool. What are we going to take? We'll just take that. Quick scalp right there. All right, $37. Doesn't matter. But take what I've just done, right? Just to help you understand that when you're looking at the orders, I know that's a vector candle. I know there's imbalances. There's zero profile. And they're having to build. That's why it's going up. It's going down. See the bid side there, 39 again. Someone wants to buy it lower. They don't want to buy it at the highs. They want to buy it lower, which can tell me that when it starts to, there we go, it's ripping down now. Coming down, 51.49. I'm getting a feel now for the commitment in the book. All right? That's what gives you clues about how price behaves and how you understand why it's reversing from one point to the next. Everyone's buying at this level. So many people went long and they're now getting liquidated. And then the market will try and go back up again. But I've got to pay attention to the offer. See 33, 35, shot back up to that point again. And it's really difficult. I don't recommend anyone that trades at the start of the market. Yeah, I didn't make, listen, I'm not here to try and make massive money on that. I would never put size during this time. Not now, 67, but you're seeing something here. I know you're going to go and look at it for yourselves. And you're going to be able to say, you know what? I've seen that. There you go, 36, eating the liquidity. The order book's telling me we want lower prices now, okay? And I can exploit that. Easy, all right? It's hard, but you've got to be in tune with it. You've got to be looking for it and be like, okay, what's going on? Yeah, we've had some good news, but price is really extended to the upside. Like, we've got to do something about it, Any questions? Does that make sense? No? I ain't seen any questions there. Tina, what do you think of Melly? Could you please chart and check the EPS? Melly. What is Melly? Let's have a look at Melly. Provides digital and technology tools that allow businesses and individuals to trade products and services. Earnings per share has slowed down. Earnings has slowed down massively, but its earnings per share is coming out tomorrow. Okay, be very careful with this one because it is showing a bit of interest before the earnings per share. All right, but it has seen a deceleration, a massive deceleration in its earnings. All right, so that might be down to the services and the products that they're offering that are not really being taken on. But the sales are still there at 37, and 34%, but minus 2% on its earnings. That's not really great, but it's still higher than what the previous reading was. So something to really take into consideration. Just be mindful tomorrow. Its earnings per share is due. Okay. Tino, if equities are levitating because of volatile liquidity and Bitcoin pumps because of scarcity, which force wins when the music stops? Liquidity. Because you can have scarcity. You'll always have scarcity with Bitcoin. We've had 21 million coins of Bitcoin in principle, and Bitcoin is still not at 1 million. But liquidity is a different story. Liquidity is commitment. I don't care if there's something that there's not that much of a supply of. If no one's picking it up, no one's picking it up. There's no liquidity. It's always going to be liquidity. Always. Go and start a business. You want to borrow against your business, for example. What's your cash? Do you have any? What's your leverage? What's your collateral? Property? What is it? Well, I actually hold a coin that is very scarce. Shut the fuck up, man. I'm not interested in your scarce coin. I want to know what your liquidity is. Liquidity will always reign supreme. Money talks. It does. I know Bitcoin's money, but anyway. Where's Priest's question? I can't see Priest's question. It's not there. I'm not seeing it. Is it a view? Oh, I can't see your question, Priest. Yeah, answer Priest's question, please, Tina. I can't see Priest's question. What was it? Yeah, where's the question, Priest? Can you talk about the difference between euro dollar and this? And is dollar for everyone please talk about difference between euro dollar and is dollar for everyone, please. The difference between euro dollar and dollar. What do you mean? I'm not getting that. Yo, Priest, hit me up, man. Oh, my days. You want me to talk about that? What time are we on? No. I actually can't talk about that yet. Nah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That just threw me off. Okay, market is now making a bit of a move. Where are we at with Bitcoin? Just to quickly check. It's making a pump sweep up there. Wait there. Yeah. If the market is rushing up for the upside for the Fed announcement, then it could be a short from the top post FOMC. Just be very careful with that. Don't be short. Listen, don't short anything just yet. Don't short anything just yet. Unless you get a reason to see the breakdown happening, don't short anything just yet. All right? Because it's your trading sentiment, guy. I can't stress it enough. Can you trade without knowing the news sentiment? Place your trade purely on the hybrid. Yes, you can. You can do that. Why? Because if you just looked at what Nasdaq was doing just then, okay, that pump, and I went short, was just simply recovery of the green vector candle. I knew that was there anyway, okay? But I started to add confluence to it with the orders. That was giving me the logic. They wanted to bring it down, okay? Just exploiting that. But you can't dismiss the idea of sentiment because you're in a sentiment-driven environment. Every day you come to the chart, you place projections, do what you do, and then all of a sudden, Microsoft wants to invest $145 billion. And if you're not paying attention to sentiment, you're going to look to the chart and be like, why has it gone up? I'm favoring shorts. Why has it gone up? Oh, my God. Because technical analysis, dog. Like, no. There's just been a news announcement. Sentiment-driven. When we come out of sentiment-driven and they only expect the same thing to happen over and over again, then you can start coming away from the idea of it. But remember, interest rates are getting cheaper. They're getting lower. So money's going to get put to work. So that's why everything goes up. Okay? Cool. Maybe with gold. What are your thoughts on solar energy stocks and the connection to the growing demand for AI power? Listen, I'm talking about that tonight. You're not just looking for solar energy. I mean, solar, yeah, it's good, but look at it like this. The US currently has a lot. It's about 5,400. Well, 5,400 data centers, okay? The US and China, when it comes to nuclear, right? Nuclear takes a while to create the base, the actual station to create the nuclear power, right? There has to be an alternative. You have to I'm talking about it tonight. I'm talking about it all tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm just going to end up talking to you about it now and then it just ruin the whole thing. So with that being said, guys, got to get an update out to everyone in the membership. So I'll be speaking to you later on. I'm going to be talking about this power about data centers in tonight's video.